I am Dude Explains Stuff. Please subscribe. Let's get started. Number 8. The outsider effect. Sometimes the deepest thing that makes you feel different isn't in the wiring of your brain, but in the journey you've lived, the feeling of being an outsider. You didn't grow up with an instruction manual. You were thrown into a maze and had to find your own way, while everyone else already knew the path. The rules feel like they come from another culture. The language seems designed for someone else to use. Everyone seems to be on the same wavelength while you're on a silent frequency. And that doesn't show up on any brain scan, but you feel it every time you walk into a group where you don't truly belong. It's the alienation, the misunderstanding, the pressure to be normal without anyone ever clearly defining what normal is. And yet, it's precisely being on the outside that gives you a perspective those on the inside can never have. Alan Turing, ostracized by society for his sexual orientation, still broke the Enigma code and laid the foundation for modern computer science. Nina Simone, a black artist with music full of rage, turned her pain and discrimination into an artistic weapon. James Baldwin, with his dual position as a black and gay man in a society that accepted neither, wrote pages that no one else could have written. They didn't belong, and that's precisely what made them irreplaceable. When you aren't programmed to copy the collective, you also avoid the crowd's blind spots. You don't fit in, but because of that, you see. Science calls this phenomenon cognitive reframing. Art calls it the frontier perspective. You can just call it yourself. Maybe you've always felt like you were carrying some kind of system error. But if one day you realize that all the parts of you are starting to click into place, you'll understand. The very thing that once made you lonely is actually what makes you unique. And this is just a small slice. Number 7. Dream logic. Sometimes what sets you apart from this world isn't your difference from others, but the distance between you and a reality itself. Thoughts drift by like smoke. The moment you touch them, they vanish. They return, persistent as an echo in a windowless room. You see patterns in the chaos. You connect unrelated things without understanding why they fit so perfectly. Your brain is like it's holding on to an unfinished piece of a dream, running silently beneath all your actions. Reason seems to give way to intuition. Metaphors become clearer than any logical deduction. At times, you feel foolish trying to explain an idea because even you don't know where it came from. But it's on that very boundary where reason begins to blur that the boldest creations are born. Freud read dreams as one reads a text, deciphering each image as a symbol of the unconscious. Haruki Murakami breathes bizarre dreams onto his pages, turning the absurd into everyday life. Apichat Pongwirasatakal, with films that drift like a mind half awake and half asleep, stunned the entire world of cinema. The scientific community suggests this is a result of the brain's default mode network, the area that activates when we stop concentrating, stop controlling. Perhaps it's also a remnant of REM sleep, when the brain is still test-running scenarios that don't conform to reality. You don't follow the steps of logic one by one. You leap from an idea to an image, from a feeling to a concept. You don't build from a blueprint, you feel the shape of the house from within. It's not always practical, but when it clicks, it's like an ancient language that only you can hear and understand. Number 6. Social disconnect. There are times when the problem isn't the thoughts you're having, but where you're standing in the world. You don't feel off topic, but rather out of sync with everyone around you. A gentle but distinct rupture. You walk into a room and instantly sense that something is off key. The silence here isn't peaceful. It's like it's holding its breath. The gazes that linger too long, the jokes you can't decipher. It's the feeling that you missed a script that everyone else has already memorized. You're late to a conversational game with no instruction manual.
Every chat becomes a potential trap. Parties feel like a stage not meant for you. And after it all, you replay every moment as if analyzing security footage. You're not just on the outside, you feel like you were never invited in. But what if that very feeling of being the odd one out is the foundation for a special perspective? Temple Grandin didn't fit in the conventional way, but she reshaped the entire livestock industry by thinking like an animal. Glenn Gould retreated from the stage because he couldn't stand the pressure of socializing, but left behind recordings that the music world considers immortal. And Franz Kafka, who never felt he fit into any community, wrote literature that forced society to look at itself. You don't participate in the noise, and that's what allows you to hear a different rhythm, a silent rhythm, where you can notice things no one else pays attention to. Science suggests this is the effect of the default mode network in the brain, the region responsible for simulating others, but also for nurturing independent observation. It's more active in introverted, isolated minds, and it is in that solitude that the most original ideas are born. You don't fit in easily, but maybe that's because you were designed to be one of a kind. Number 5. Obsessive error fixation. Let's assume the problem isn't that you lose your concept of time. It's that you can't look away from what isn't right. Those tiny, faint, but haunting errors. You fix a sentence, then realize you have to fix the whole paragraph because the punctuation doesn't sound right. A word with the wrong tone, an idea that's slightly off. The spiral begins. It's not that you want everything to be perfect. It's that your brain cannot tolerate the feeling of things being not right. It clings to details like superglue. Seeing a misplaced period makes it hard to breathe. A single pixel that's too bright keeps you up at night. A passage with a wrong rhythm stings like hearing a wrong note in music. Your brain operates as if it's locked in technical review mode at 300% capacity. And it won't leave you alone until everything is right, according to its own definition. Yes, you're tired, very tired, but your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-evaluation and checking, keeps whispering, I think it's still not right. It's useful when you're working on a design, and annoying when you're rewriting your grocery list at 3 a.m. just because you're not satisfied with the way it's organized. But don't be too quick to hate this glitch. It's the very thing that ignited geniuses. Jony Ive, the legendary designer at Apple, once spent weeks just choosing the curvature of a device's corner. Stanley Kubrick, the master of meticulousness, wouldn't hesitate to do 100 retakes just for a single off-key glance. Michelangelo spent nearly a decade revising the Sistine Chapel ceiling just because he felt God wasn't sufficiently balanced. This isn't just perfectionism. It's an insatiable hunger for precision, harmony, and that feeling of a perfect fit. For some people, it's not a choice. It's an instinct. Number 4, time drift. Sometimes your brain doesn't rewind time. It skips it entirely. You sit down to do one small thing, and when you look up, the sky has changed color. Lunch has become dinner. 2 unread messages. An entire afternoon has vanished as if it never existed. It's not that you were distracted. You were pulled into a different current where the concept of time is disabled. Your brain doesn't forget time. It just decides, let's put that aside for now. There's something more important to do. For most, time is a ticking clock, an appointment calendar, a deadline. But for you, it's like a jazz symphony. Sometimes slow, sometimes dancing, sometimes skipping the chorus entirely to dive straight into a strange drum beat. You are not alone. There are minds that don't live by the common rhythm. They bend time like an artist molding wax. Brian Eno measures music not in beats, but in space. Toni Morrison wrote novels as if time were a living character. They don't follow time. They make time follow them. Many athletes describe that when they reach their peak performance, they no longer hear the noise. There's only pure movement, as if the world switched to slow motion mode just for them to fly. Science calls this the flow state, a neural stream where dopamine leads the way and the insular cortex helps us forget ourselves to be fully immersed in the moment. And honestly, sometimes you're not distracted at all. You're just lost in a zone with no calendar, no clock, no notifications. A place where all ideas arrive as if sent from outside of reality. A place where you don't count the hours. You hear the rhythm of something no one has ever thought of before.
Number 3, memory loops. When your brain can't restructure reality, it does the only thing it knows well: replay, rewind, repeat every single frame. You're lying there, perfectly still, but inside your head, a very clear sound is playing. Hey, remember that time you misspoke in front of the class in middle school? Of course you remember. Your brain replays it over and over as if it were an unresolved legal case. This isn't just reminiscing. It's a memory with an emotion attached, like a souvenir that never gets lost. Some brains don't let small mistakes go. They save every detail, reanalyzing every expression, every tone of voice, as if reconstructing a crime scene. And yes, this can be related to anxiety, OCD, or an exceptionally strong emotional memory. The thing that keeps you tossing and turning at 3 a.m. is also the thing that makes you rewrite a paragraph 10 times until it feels just right. These internal loops are the very forge of meticulousness. Nikola Tesla could run engine tests in his head for weeks before laying a hand on any machine. Patricia Highsmith planned every detail of her character's murders before writing a single word. Jerry Seinfeld would spend an entire evening refining a single line just so the laugh would hit on the very first word. This isn't mere remembering. It's a private simulation system where you reconstruct every possibility, rewrite every script. These loops can be exhausting, but they are also where standards are raised to a different level, where those obsessed with the imperfect create what no one thought was possible.
Number 2, synesthesia. There are times when your brain doesn't just dig deeper into reality, it slips off the rails. A soft, quiet turn leading to a land where the senses no longer stand apart. You hear a name, but what appears is the color slate blue. You read the word fruit and feel a sourness on your tongue. You smell the scent of soap and picture the number 4. Welcome to a world where sensory boundaries are erased, where sounds have color, where October smells of damp earth, where Thursday is a circle. For most people, this is a disturbance, but for a select few, it is a doorway into a hidden database where the brain doesn't just perceive, it transforms. This phenomenon, synesthesia, occurs when sensory areas in the brain that are normally separate start talking to each other. And when they communicate, creativity is no longer a choice, it becomes a consequence. Pharrell Williams says that for him, every sound comes with a color palette. Daniel Tammet, the genius mathematician, says that numbers appear in his mind like landscapes, each one a vivid physical form. Olivier Messiaen, the French composer, wrote symphonies based on the color palettes he heard in his head. Neurological studies show in the brains of synesthetes, the areas that process sound, color, language have clear cross-connections. This not only enhances associative abilities, but also creates a form of extremely powerful visual memory. They don't follow the default operating system. They rewrite it.
Number 1, hyperfocus. There is a state that, when you fall into it, you no longer know where you are. You think you'll just do something for a few minutes, and then suddenly the sun has set. Meals are forgotten, and you've just finished reading 14 studies on the physiology of earthworms. People might call it a mild obsession. But what if the thing that makes you forget the world is the very key to unlocking genius? When in this state, your brain isn't just focused, it disappears from reality, leaving only one thing behind: the flow of action. It's like you turn on a video, and 5 hours later, you've edited an entire documentary. It might look like a loss of control, but it's a form of extreme control, where all mental energy is gathered like a laser. This is a trait often seen in people with ADHD or on the autism spectrum. Brains that are supposedly inattentive can lock on to a single point for hours on end. The same person who forgets a deadline 3 times can build an AI prototype overnight. Barbara McClintock, the geneticist, once worked so relentlessly that she couldn't tell the difference between day and night. Terence Tao, the mathematics prodigy, is famous for being able to sustain a logical chain of thought for dozens of steps without taking notes. John Carmack, the legendary programmer of Doom, would disappear in his office to write thousands of lines of code without a break. Science describes this as the activation of the prefrontal cortex's executive loop, where functions like time perception, self-care, and social awareness are temporarily shut down. But for the right person, with the right task, it is a cheat code that helps create things others haven't even begun to imagine. It's not like normal attention, it's the feeling of falling down a tunnel, and at the bottom, you're not trapped. You build an entire laboratory there. It can isolate you, make you forget the world around you, but if harnessed, it will turn you into someone who can create new worlds that no one else has ever thought of.